There we go. The voice, right? So I'm Chad Baker, Director of Graduate Recruitment and Enrollment here at Millersville University, and the Marketing Communications Chair for PAGAP. Is that all I needed, Betsy? Is that?
Yeah. How long have you been in higher ed, Chad?
In higher ed, I've been almost 18 years now. I've been in GEM for about 8.5, almost 9 years. So, and I will jump over to Nikki.
Good morning, everyone. Nikki Popolarchuk at Penn West, Assistant Director of Graduate Enrollment. Been in higher ed for about the same as you, Chad, about 18 years, and then GEM World 9. I think I serve as the current secretary. So welcome, everyone. Go with another board member. Go ahead, Angelo.
Hey everybody, I'm Angelo Lambrosino. I'm the Graduate Recruitment Manager for the College of Engineering at Lehigh University. We're in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I've been in higher ed for about 10 years and then about 2 years in GEM. I'm also your membership chair for PAGAP.
I'll go. Judy Wilson. I am the Director of Graduate and Online Admissions at Geneva College. We're about 45 minutes north of Pittsburgh. I have been in higher education for 36 years and in enrollment for 3. Let's go to Allie.
Good morning, sorry. Hi, I'm Allie Resnick. I work at Gratz College, which is right outside of Philadelphia. And I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Recruitment, so a less traditional role, but I work closely with the enrollment management team. I am in my first year in higher education. My background in the past 16 years was in K-12 before hopping over. Nice to meet everybody.
Do you want to go? Yep.
All right, I'm going to go. Hi, I'm Karina Dreher, Associate Director of Recruitment at Penn State Great Valley. We're in Malvern, Pennsylvania. And I've been in higher education for almost 17 years now, and about 11 years out of that in grad. And I'm going to popcorn it over to Michelle.
I was gonna say my camera might be working, but it's not. So this is why my camera's off, because I look like this. I look like a shadow. Karina is my supervisor, so she'll attest that my office is not set up the best way for this. Typically I would disconnect my laptop and go sit on the other side, but I got a new laptop yesterday, so afraid to disconnect it and ruin anything. So I'm gonna turn my camera off so you don't have to look at the shadow of me. But it's nice to meet everybody. I unfortunately could not attend NAGAP with Karina, so I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you today and your stories. I'm fairly new in my career. I've been in higher ed about 6 years, started out on the undergraduate side, and I've been in graduate enrollment with Karina at Penn State Great Valley for about 4 years, coming up on 4 years as their Assistant Director of Recruitment. So very nice to meet everybody. Looking forward to hearing about NAGAP.
Right. And Ink, do you want to go last?
I can. Hello. Good morning, everyone. Ink Young. I am with the University of Pittsburgh, Graduate Marketing Manager. So I work in a central role with all of our 14 graduate schools. And the conference was great time. I have been trying to recover the last few days at home, but looking forward to all your takeaways. And I have been with Pitt for 3 years, part-time in higher education for over 20 before that.
Okay, awesome. Hi, Haley. I know you're just joining us. We just did introductions. Do you want to just say your name, title, what school you're with, and how long you've been in higher ed and GEM?
Sure. Thanks, Betsy. My name is Haley Drogas. I work for the University of Sheffield, which is actually in the UK, but I'm based in Pennsylvania. And I have been in higher ed for going on 10 years now and GEM for 9 years.
All right, perfect. So this is just an informal conversation, so feel free to chime in. But we're just gonna go around and kind of talk for the people that did attend, what your like your favorite part was, maybe a favorite session. We started off with a keynote speaker. Her name was Dr. Ramona Lawrence, and her like overall theme was really like being limitless and aware. I really enjoyed that keynote because she basically talked about some of her weaknesses or health issues that she had that turned into strengths. And I feel like that's a really way to look at GEMS sometimes, where in most of our institutions, grad has always been, I've heard the term like the red-headed stepchild, or like, you know, undergrad's such a focus, and then there is the grad world. And so now though, with the enrollment cliff at the undergraduate level happening, most of our institutions are turning to the grad side. The grad, you know, grad is the future. And I feel like that was really cool to relate back to the keynote speaker, because in the grad world, we are limitless and we are aware of what's going on. And we've always been this way, but I think there's more and more conversation around grad enrollment. Do you all agree, or is that what's happening at your schools as well? Okay. And then also, not just like grad, but also ourselves. I feel like COVID has really messed with a lot of us in terms of like mental well-being, you know, and I think it's a good reminder to all of us to know that we are strong and we are capable of doing the things that are needed. But at the same time, when there is a lot asked of us, it is important to realize that we need to step back, and it is okay to say no and understand our like weaknesses or areas of opportunity as well. How many of you like have been feeling overwhelmed in the last couple of years? Yeah, same. But it's okay to do that, but we just need to like take a breather. And sometimes like knowing many of you on this call, like we're type A's, right? Like we just want to do, go, go, go. But sometimes we have to just stop. And although we are limitless, like Dr. Lawrence said, it's important to know what our limits are during each chapter in our lives as well. Did anybody else want to add anything about the keynote speaker?
I actually wanted to segue into one of the other keynote speakers, Dr. Jay Miller, because I think it's exactly, he was talking exactly about what you mentioned, like that's self-care, right? Because we all talk the talk, we all say, you know, we're tired, we need to take some time off, but we're all feeling guilty about taking the time off, and we're all feeling that there's so much pressure at work that sometimes, you know, taking a day off, taking a sick day, taking a couple of hours, and especially now in the virtual environment when it's so easy, and you know, work in a hybrid, you know, for the most part, some of us work a hybrid format. So sometimes you work from home, it's easier to go to the doctors and during your lunchtime when you're on your work from home day rather than take the half a day, or you know, whatever the case is. So I feel that we really need to remove those barriers that we set ourselves, remove that guilt, and try and overcome it, and be able to take vacation without feeling guilty, be able to have the kind of relationship with your coworkers where you feel comfortable going away from the office for a few days, for a week, and knowing that things are going to be okay in your absence, and you're not going to have to check your email. You're not going to have to be worried that when you come back, you're going to come back to a desk, you know, filled up with files or whatever the case is, you know, electronic files nowadays. But anyways, I really, really liked that, you know, that session for that reason, because I myself find that when I go on vacation, I can't not check my email. I can't not, you know, do a couple of things, respond to a few emails, make sure that things are taken care of. Although I have wonderful colleagues who I know are perfectly capable and able and willing to, step in and cover during that time. But it's that guilt that's kind of like ingrained in our in our minds that, we feel guilty. I don't want to be away for a week because I know that I'm going to be missed, and I know that, I have stuff that needs to get done. So that was definitely one of my favorites. And then another one that I really, really liked, and this is more on the recruitment side. There was a session about social insights. And it was a very interesting session because, well, we all know that every move that you do on a device is being tracked, right? If you're on your mobile phone, you go to Facebook, you go to Instagram, you go to Twitter, you go to, that move is tracked. We see those ads popping in, well, on the other side of things, we're tracking people. And one of the new things that this session was talking about was a means to track social media for the sake of recruitment, but it's a little non-traditional in the sense that, we know that Facebook, Instagram is very easy to track. This is a little bit different. So they were tracking folks who maybe opened up forums online, for instance, on Reddit. I never knew that, you could track someone and capture someone from Reddit. First of all, Reddit is not, my husband goes to Reddit all the time for all kinds of things. But when you do a Google search for no matter what, one of the first, searches that pops up, it's actually a Reddit search or a thread or, a forum. So that is actually applicable to higher education as well. So students go on Reddit or different sites. It can be a different forum, and they talk about institutions. So I challenge you to go and take a look and see whether your institution came up in any of those. And there are apps out there you can use as far as like tracking, these conversations on forums. I don't know off the top of my head what these apps are, and I'm waiting kind of impatiently for the slides to be available to all of us so that I can pull that social insights slide out so that I can have that a little bit more information about it. But I thought that was very interesting, and that's definitely a resource that I never tapped into as far as, searching folks who talked about Penn State, and especially Penn State Great Valley on such forum. But I challenge you to do that. I think that's very interesting, and I think that's definitely a unique and different way to recruit folks and see what they're, kind of adjust your information sessions, adjust your the way you're recruiting based on some of these suggestions that these folks put in there. They're talking about, what are their greatest fears when they apply for institutions, right? What are the hurdles? What are some of the barriers that they have to overcome through the application process? So now when you have an information session, knowing that information, you can maybe focus on that and be able to convey that a lot easier. And, before they start asking questions, like just kind of be ready and prepared. But we don't have the slides yet. So that, I see Judy asked if we can share the slides. I actually did look yesterday on NAGAP's website. I checked the app again. They're not available just yet. They haven't been uploaded. But once they will, I think they're going to be all put on the exchange. So all members are going to have access to them.
Thanks for sharing that, Karina. It might have been the same session or a different one where it wasn't actually in the presentation, but someone there was like a VP of SEO or something. And they had mentioned this Reddit thing. And I wrote down that they said Google has partnered with Reddit to increase their traffic. And they have had increases of 1,800% and went from number 70 in the search results to number 2 in the search results within the last 45 days. So now they're encouraging us to get our ambassadors on there to be able to represent our colleges and universities a little bit more. And also as universities to kind of keep an eye on things, not necessarily like promoting yourself because that is like inorganic, right? But having your ambassadors on there just to be available to answer a lot of those frequently asked questions, or to privately message anyone who brings something up about a university that may not be accurate, so that they can get to the appropriate contact person. So that was one of my biggest takeaways from the whole conference, was get on Reddit if you're not already, which we weren't. So
I'm just curious, has anybody been on Reddit to recruit or just in general?
in general.
Same in general.
Yeah, I've never really even used it, but now it's like on my radar.
If
No,
you
it's
Google
just when
something and then you say like Reddit after it, a lot of the times you'll get a better answer. And that's exactly the point of that whole thing that
Mhm.
guy said.
But like I
Versus just
said,
Googling things won't
anything
get
that
you the answers anymore.
anything that you search on Google, like you will see that one of the searches that pops up, it is going to be Reddit. It's so popular nowadays, and people are on it all the time, constantly. So basically, almost any topic out there, you will find a thread on Reddit.
Okay, awesome. Along the same lines, like both the Carnegie and the Halda presentations that I went to, they talked a lot about like some of the demographics changing to a younger group for grad, but also the importance of both storytelling and personalization on our websites, and emails and our communication plans. So how many of you communicate mostly with your students through email? So based on their data, email is still the top ways to communicate with our population. How many of you guys really personalize your campaigns in terms of, tracking what they do on the website? So if they clicked on, for example, the visit page, is someone following up with them to say, hey, have you scheduled a visit, or an email that goes out? Is anybody doing something like that? If not, that's something to consider. And so one of the things that in that session they recommended was connecting with our marketing team and our marketing offices to see if we are able to get website behavior data and match it up with our potential prospective students to see if we can do further outreach based on what they're doing on the website, whether it's visiting the visit page or the financial aid page, or we work with a vendor, direct development, that sends us high engagement lists every week. And it's basically and it's tracked through like students' email, and it's basically if they have filled out something on our website before and we can align it with them being our potential prospective student, we can see like what they're doing. And then every week our team reaches out based on where they are on the website. And I thought that was really cool, because going back to what Karina was saying about, us all being like Big Brother, essentially, we're watching everything. How can we utilize that for recruitment without being too creepy, right? Like, to be honest, like, I don't want somebody to request a more information form and then like 2 seconds later, it's like, hey, I saw you requested some information. I wanted to, send you an email or whatever, but like, nurturing them and using that information and, helping them through that enrollment process. I thought that was really, really helpful. Another session that I also really liked is the one about, and it goes along the same lines as the use of AI and recruitment. Did anybody else attend an AI session? Okay, Nikki or Chad, if you want to talk more, feel free to. But one of the things is with the technology growth in this country, and the lack of resources in grad offices with people, it's important to utilize AI in some way. And AI could be as simple as a chat bot. It can be, there's a sophisticated ones where, like if you basically set up ways for the I don't know, whatever the back end stuff is to scan your website to gather information and then actually create emails if a student emails you, which I think that's kind of like, I can't, in my brain, I don't understand how that works, but people are doing it and doing it pretty well. Of course, that costs money, but Nikki, Chad, what were your takeaways for some of the AI sessions?
Basically, it's not going anywhere. AI is here to stay, so it's a tool that we should familiarize ourselves with and use. For those of you that use Slate, funny, our very last day, me and Chad and Christy were sitting with a young person, and he came over and he started talking about Slate and the AI function in Slate, and we were all three sitting there like, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're talking about. So if anyone's interested, or shoot me an email after and I can show you, or I talk about it now. In Slate, when you go to send a message, there's a little dot with like 3 little stars. That's an AI function built in. You don't have to pay for it. So you can put in with texting or with email, just basic info, and it'll curate that message for you. So I've been playing around with it and it's pretty cool. I know we all use our messaging often and it gets dry after a while. So it's like a really cool function. But yeah, AI is here to stay and we have to learn to embrace it and use it. So that was what I got out of it most.
Yeah, and I think the session that I attended, they were talking a lot about, and I think Betsy, you kind of alluded to this as well, that when someone says AI, we think a lot of times of like one thing, and there's actually a very broad definition of AI and what falls under that umbrella. And there's actually only like a small portion of it that we're using, or could be using. So it was interesting just to kind of get an idea of the different definitions, I guess, that fall under that. But I would agree with Nikki, with the whole thing with Slate. We were all laughing that it was like, the last 10 minutes we were at conference, we probably got the most valuable piece of information that we got all week. And it was funny too, because as we were talking to this young man, I think Nikki asked, could we use it for texting? And he's like, oh, I don't think so. And then he went in and looked, he was like, oh yeah, we can. So we taught him something as well. But I would agree 100% with what Nikki said. I think, obviously this is here to stay. There were several sessions on AI this time around, and I suspect that at future conferences, that's going to be what happens as well, is that we're going to see more and more coming in, coming online.
Awesome. The other big topic at Summit was holistic review. With a lot of the Supreme Court decisions and process changes, it's really important for us to have documentation on how and what our policies are when we are admitting and enrolling students. And we'll probably end up doing maybe like a coffee chat topic on holistic review this upcoming year. I don't know about you all, but I know for us, like, we didn't have a rubric for interviews for all of our programs. And one of the things that we started implementing and will be fully implemented for next cycle is a written rubric for all programs that require an interview. So if we were to, get audited on anything, we can say, this is the basically criteria that we use, instead of just a generic, hey, we review holistically, like, what does that truly mean? And I thought that was super helpful. Does anybody really practice holistic reviews at your institution? And not just look off of like, GRE scores or test scores?
I would say we do, to a certain extent. I think there's certain programs that, for me, the conversation about holistic review is interesting because, we have programs like our social work, our psychology programs, that they are kind of directed by their accrediting bodies on how they need to review applications and bring students in. So they're a little bit more restricted than maybe some of our other programs. But I do know that quite a few of our programs here will look at everything. And part of our application is we do ask a student to provide a goal statement. And typically, if I talk one-on-one with a student, I tell them that's where you should be putting in like any, personal anecdotes that you want to include, any, work history that maybe isn't represented on a resume, or volunteer experience maybe that's not on a resume, because that's the opportunity that when, our programs are reviewing that goal statement, if their GPA is a little bit lower or something else in that process is weaker, that goal statement might be the catalyst to push them over, that finish line to being accepted into the program. So, again, I think it's tougher in programs where there are those restrictions, but I think it is helpful, to have multiple points that can be referenced during the admissions process.
And then the other, I have two more topics that I want to mention that I really liked. One was the, I call it the 4+1, but it was really the dual degrees, or the fast track or accelerated master's programs that schools have. So basically, at the undergraduate level, allowing students to take, I think it was some schools were doing up to 12 credits, and then going right into the master's program. I thought that was really interesting, because we do a little bit of that. We do have the dual degree programs, but they had a team that was really reaching out, I think, during their sophomore or even their freshman year, to really start identifying who those students are. And if they had, I think it was like a 3.5 GPA, they would offer essentially direct admission into their graduate program, pending that they meet all the requirements. Do you all do something like that at your institutions? Tell me a little bit about what that direct admission looks like. Do they have to reapply for grad school, or is that initial direct admission, like you hold that throughout the whole program? Like for us, we will identify students at the undergraduate level and say, hey, we're impressed with, your undergraduate academics, but you still have to apply whether you're taking a class or not.
So at Lehigh, we have like a 5-year 4+1 program that you could get into as a high school student, but it's not a guaranteed admission to grad school. You still have to meet with your advisor. There's still check-in points along the way to make sure that you have the proper GPA in classes. And then the other way to get into that is if you're a current student, we encourage you to meet with your advisor and almost like declare a grad intent. So that gets you on a fast track to a master's degree with us in under a year. And they should do that their sophomore or junior year. Senior year is a little too late for them, because they should just apply normally. And then if they just apply normally, there's also like an alumni scholarship available. It gets a little weird with scholarship monies applying to your grad courses, and that's something that we're looking into changing in the new year. But right now, that's kind of the options that we have at Lehigh.
Go ahead, Haley.
Is it okay if I go? Okay, sorry. I'm like, I didn't want to jump over anyone. I'm trying to see if anyone else unmuted. So we have something interesting at my university where we're not necessarily needing to recruit. Of course, we've touched bases, especially towards their third year, to see if they're looking to stay at the university, go into further education. But we actually have combined courses where it is the master's degree. So just as an example, for our master's in engineering, it is a Meng degree, an M engineering, and a master's in engineering. And they, because in the UK, our degrees are typically only 3 years for bachelor's. So it's a 4-year degree or a 5-year degree if it's a research combined. And the way we market it is they show up in the undergraduate course search. not the postgraduate. So when students go to our website and are looking for undergraduate courses, they show up in their search, and then they'll be like, oh, it's a combined degree. So we get a lot of students interested in that, just through promoting on the website that this is available right off the bat to the high schoolers. And then, of course, if any students that didn't sign up for the combined hear about it through friends who are in those undergraduate courses, then they can still see if it's too late to re-enroll into that specific program or just apply later on. So it's really nice to have it just at the forefront of the website. So we're not having to do much promotion typically beyond them just finding it in our course search for undergrad.
And I was just going to say, we do, we only have specific programs that have the accelerated at this point, but they fill out a form typically in their junior year, as Angelo said, maybe late sophomore year as well. And that is then reviewed by their advisor or the coordinators in the program. The coordinators then give us their approval. We give the students an offer letter that is that indicates it is conditional on the successful completion of their undergraduate program. And then for us, the way that we do it is, on the back end in our student information system, we have a tag that we put on them. It's just ACCL for accelerated. And then when that student actually applies for graduation, those applications go through our registrar's office. The registrar then sends us an automated email to say the student has applied for graduation. And then we actually go in and activate them in the graduate program at that point. So we don't require them to do an additional application. The only program that does that right now is social work. And again, social work's the bane of my existence, but that's largely because we do have a partnership with another school, and the program coordinators at that school are required to review our applications as well. So we do make our social work students complete an actual graduate application. But as far as the other students, as long as they're graduating and they've successfully met the requirements for their undergrad, yeah, we're just automatically putting them into the graduate program.
We offer something similar. We just started at Penn State, Great Valley. We started it's basically a 4+1. They have a funny name for it, integrated undergraduate graduate degree. I don't know why they were, Penn State likes to use big words and cumbersome words for everything, but and processes. But we just started with accounting, and we're recruiting students who are located in those very close proximity campuses, right? So we have Berks and Abington that are close by, and they offer an accounting degree. In the junior, similar to what Chad said, in the junior year, they would have to declare that they're interested in this option. But the one thing that makes it stand out, they do have to apply to grad school, and there's like a specific timeline. So we have to kind of keep track of who's doing what. But the one thing that's very interesting is that we offer tuition, a huge tuition discount. So first of all, they can take 12 credits as part of their undergrad. So when they graduate with a bachelor's, they already have, 12 credits towards their master's. It's a 30-credit master's degree. So the remaining 18 credits are offered at the same discounted cost. So basically, they pay undergraduate tuition rate for their master's degree, and they get, it's an accounting program, so they get complimentary access to the BECA review course as well. So if they want to get CPA certified, they can use the CPA review course at no additional cost. That saves them an additional $2,500. So it's a huge discount when you look at it that way. But like I said, it's very new. They're hoping to be able to offer the same idea for the MBA and the finance programs. we have something in place for engineering, but I feel like we're not really promoting it enough. And the one takeaway from the NAGAP is I actually sat in a session that was talking about yield and focusing on yield. And one of the things that they mentioned is that, you know, it takes a village to recruit, right? And you have to recruit early on at undergraduate level for a grad degree, right? So the one takeaway was you have to promote this when they first come in as undergrads. So during orientation, have their ambassadors, their advisors, their career management people mention that there is an option for them to do a 4+1 and what are the tracks and how they can do it, because the more they know about it as undergrads, the more chances that they're actually gonna do something about it when the time comes, when they're juniors or, seniors. And that's something that I definitely want to open for discussion on our campus, and see if we can, right now we do classroom visits, right, to try and recruit students. So when they're sophomores or juniors, we go to their classroom and talk about the program. That takes 10-15 minutes out of their class. So, you have to talk to the professor, you have to try and educate their advisors. The advisors don't really have any incentive to promote our program, right? When you think about it, because it's extra work for them. So that's one of the things I'm hoping to be able to create a little bit more awareness in the very early stages of their undergrad career, so that they can, by the time they get to the sophomore, junior stage, they already know that they want to do the 4+1.
So Karina, I don't know if this might be helpful to you. Our students that come in undergrad and they've indicated one of our 4+1 programs, they get their acceptance letter from undergrad admissions. Then they get a letter from me a few weeks later that says, hey, you've been provisionally admitted into whatever grad program. Then it basically says pending you meet all the requirements and all
Right.
that stuff. And so that way we get to track those people as well. And they already are like, oh yeah, I got into grad school, even though they still need to follow steps. I think that's another way to yield both the undergrad class, and then also help us stay in touch as we continue yielding for grad.
That's a good idea. I don't know how it's going to go really well in our campus though, because we don't do provisional acceptance. Like I said, Penn State is very set in their way, but maybe there's a way around it. You know what I mean? It's always useful to talk about these things and put them out on the table, because maybe a provisional acceptance is not going to be the case, but maybe we can go around it. Maybe we can find a different solution that might work. Because I agree with you, like that excitement, like, oh my God, I'm already accepted in grad school. That's huge.
Yeah.
I'll say I'm chiming in too, just because Karina and I work so closely together. And like Karina mentioned, we're trying to develop these for a few more of our programs. We have it in place for software engineering with our undergraduate sister campuses too. But I like what you said, Betsy. It's a great idea, and it leads for another opportunity for collaboration amongst our sister campuses, to maybe be doing something like that, to maybe be talking to them about how we can do that, how we can send a letter early on in their freshman year and be like, hey, you are provisionally accepted if you meet all these pending requirements. So I think that gives me and Karina something to work with for this summer, a good summer project when it's a little bit slower on our end, being on the sole grad side, to start working with our director to see if there's anybody we can get in touch with at these campuses we're offering these IUGs at, to see if that would be a possibility. I like that a lot. I think that would kind of just keep it in the back of their mind, that, hey, I already have this. This is kind of in the bag for me, as long as I can keep following through academically with what I need to do. So I like that a lot.
And even if you can't use the word provisional acceptance or
Right.
whatever, maybe it's a touch point from the director or the dean or something to say, hey, I know you've indicated this, dual degree. We're looking forward to welcoming you to our grad program, in the next couple of years.
Right.
Maybe even invite them to one of your info sessions, and then you can do like a separate breakout for them, or I don't know, just something as a touch point, so they know who you are from the beginning.
Right.
It's a very good idea.
The last takeaway that I wanted to mention that I really enjoyed from NAGAP, one of the sessions, was alumni engagement and marketing and recruitment. I don't know if you all work with the alumni offices, but basically they were talking about how admissions and alumni office can like collaborate with events and then use those events as recruitment events. And we do this at Newman. We do like Newman on the Road, where the president and the alumni office go out and basically rent out a restaurant space or whatever it is in areas that are a little bit further away from Newman. And we've been collaborating where we can invite our prospective students and community partners to that event. And then the president gives an update on what's happening at Newman. And then we usually have like an alumni talk about their experience at Newman and what they're doing after they've graduated, which is great for us in admissions because the alumni office, that's the budget that gets used. So it's like less costs for us. And then we get to kind of tag along and still send out communication. And I really like that. And I know that we've gotten lots of inquiries from collaborating with the alumni office. Do you all do something similar or have any experience working with alumni?
I've had kind of a negative experience working with alumni. They're very protective of their information and how many emails go out and the ways in which we engage with our students. So I'm trying to breaking through those barriers slowly but surely.
So I would agree with Angelo. That's been our issue, is getting that information. I'm actually going to take it from a different tactic though after this session, because I'm going to go to the alumni and point out the fact that, you know, our graduates that have master's degrees are going to be making more money, and that's more money that can be donated back to the university. And, you know, we can somehow kind of collaborate on all those efforts. I think it works to the advantage, especially for a university that is, you know, hamstrung with the budget right now. It's something that I think we need to consider. I will say the one thing that I'm looking at as well is I'm actually looking at potentially tapping into alumni to help with recruitment efforts, in the sense that if we do have fairs in a region where we could potentially have, you know, a graduate alum actually represent us at the fair, I think, you know, that's critical. Obviously, you know, I tell prospective students all the time, my job is to sell them on coming to Millersville. If we have someone that's actually been through the program and had a good experience and are able to then, you know, talk to students about that, I think that's a whole different perspective than what, you know, I can provide. So and plus being a small staff, if I can have other folks that can help with the recruitment, I think that's critical as well. But I also attended that session, Betsy, and I thought there were a lot of good points that they made and a lot of good things that I was just kind of looking back through my notes as you were talking there, and, you know, all those to-do things that I was writing as we were going through. But it is an area that we have not, definitely we've underutilized and need to utilize more.
Go ahead, Haley.
Thanks. I'm really excited. My university, specifically the alumni department, just implemented a platform that we're calling Sheffield Connect, since we're at the University of Sheffield. And excuse me, it will basically hopefully make our lives easier, that we can, everyone that, you know, wants the resources from alum or wants to get, you know, assistance from alumni to host our events and market and so on, will have access to it to be able to pull alum from a certain region or see what our alumni are doing in terms of their current employment and so on. And I'm really excited because I really struggle with LinkedIn. It's great to just see who's connected on the alumni pages, but it can be very difficult to reach out to them. And, you know, part of that being I don't have access as an admin to the alumni page. So a lot of them I cannot message directly. Especially we have things in place in all of Europe called GDPR. It's very similar to FERPA and other things in the US where we're not allowed to reach out without someone's consent, not just students, alum, anyone really. So this will make it legal and, you know, more legitimate for us to be able to reach out to our alum in like a safe space and have them connect with us more as well. So I'm really excited. Hopefully one of the next times we meet, I'll have undergone my training and I can share more about it if it really is looking like it's making a difference. But yeah, so definitely recommend looking into a specific platform with them.
And I know that alumni can be very protective of their data. So one of the things that we started doing is asking the alumni office to send out communication on our behalf. So they do like monthly newsletters to the alumni. So we started like putting our info session graphic in there, or we'll highlight a certain program depending on you know, what makes sense. And so that's really been helpful as well as you guys are like looking to partner with the alumni office. I know we're getting close to time. Remember in the beginning when I was like, yeah, I don't think it's gonna take that long because they're a small group. Well, I love talking to you all because this is really good discussion. Overall, I know I enjoyed NAGAP. Not only just for the sessions, but a lot of the networking. It's so nice to meet people in person, especially since we have done a lot of the virtual coffee chats and things like that. And so that's one of the biggest pieces, I think, to NAGAP. So I think in the future, if you're able to attend, we would love to see you. Next year, it is in San Francisco. And then the year after that, it'll be closer to us. It'll be in Baltimore. So that's really exciting. And then one last thing, PAGAP really had a great presence at NAGAP this year. Our members, doctors Joe Paris and Dr. or Sam Kania has published a book. And we were able to get it if you attended NAGAP, but it's also available on Amazon as well. And it's basically just information on grad enrollment management, and there's not much out there on just GEM. And so it's really cool that people from PAGAP are the authors. And so I encourage you all, well, we could put the link in the chat if you want to check it out, but also some upcoming events. We have a summer conference. So if you weren't able to make it to NAGAP, or even if you were and you want to see us all again and for a shorter and more affordable professional development, maybe people in your office would want to come. We're having a summer conference in collaboration with CapGap on June 6th and 7th. So I just put the link in the chat for you all if you want to register. And then